Yeah, I was living in Nakama for a while. Yeah.
Don't you look?
Sorry, I'm
Keep
getting
talking.
distracted. Where was I up to? Yeah, I'm living abroad as I wanted to with my boat and working in a local cafe, working towards my dream of setting sail. That is where I met my current partner, Simon, or some of you may know him as Slim.
In a falafel cafe.
In a falafel cafe. Yeah, we were stuffing falafel pockets. That is how we got to know each other, stuffing falafel pockets. Anyway, it wasn't too long until Simon moved aboard Nakama and soon shared in my dream of setting sail. Around that point, that's when COVID happened, and that was a huge pivoting point for us. Obviously, working in hospitality, we didn't really have jobs. Simon came from a background of events as well, so he also lost some of his work too. We were really at this point of, actually, we'd brought the boat back here. We were living aboard at East Coast Marina. And I didn't find work. I was, on the boat most days by myself, not heading in a good direction, not sure what to do with myself. And Simon managed to find a very bad essential service job in the city at a call centre, getting abused on the phone when people's internet would go down. So eventually, long story short, eventually we decided that this was the perfect time to study because, we don't have our jobs in hospitality or events. This is the perfect time to finally do these degrees that we've been thinking about for years. For Simon, that was law. I wasn't sure what I really wanted to do, but it was one weekend when I picked up a camera. We went out to Moreton Island and we filmed a little bit of that. And I created probably the worst possible video on earth. But that gave me a sense of purpose again that week when Simon went back to his shitty call centre job and I was still on the boat by myself in the marina that week and I was editing away and it was not very good at all, but it gave me a sense of purpose and I was like, I found my passion. So it wasn't too long after that when my partner Simon, he quit his job and he enrolled in uni and got accepted into law. And we set off sailing. We had the boat. There was no reason why we needed to be tied up to land. Our degrees were entirely online with COVID putting everything online and Zoom suddenly becoming a huge thing. So we set off up the coast and that was really at the start of what we've been doing ever since, really. We eventually decided to, rather than sailing up and down the coast, we could just keep on chipping away at Australia and eventually would make it around the country. So that's really what we've been doing ever since. We've been studying chipping away at Australia, making our way around the country aboard Nakama and I suppose filming as we go as well. And I'm very grateful that all of that hard work alongside uni, I've been also filming and editing our journey and putting that up on YouTube, as I'm sure some of you have seen. And that's now I suppose, a source of income for me as well. So that's really great as well. I'm very proud. I don't like to gloat often, but I am proud of myself that that's where it is today, and that we can, I guess, keep on sailing for a little bit.
Beautiful place.
And just to see places like this and that, my job allows me to see places like this. So I think that's me. Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, so we're a mother and daughter and what?
Can I have this?
Oh, sorry. You wonder how we even got to Hobart.
No, so Simon didn't actually have. His grandparents circumnavigated the world, so he always had that interest from his grandparents, but he never was really aboard or had sailed much with them. He was very young when they had done that, so I think he was always interested because of their journey. So that I think that might have been why he was so eager to quickly move aboard Nakama and set sail. But not because of me. Yeah, but yeah, he's. I couldn't have asked for a better adventure partner. But yeah, it's amazing that Simon didn't know how to sail when we set off. So he's learned everything as we've been going. Yeah.
Okay, so the two of us, well, yeah, we're mother and daughter, and we share a passion for the sea. I think we have quite similar values and ethos, and probably a fairly calm, chilled demeanor as well. So when we do sail together, we're very harmonious, and it's mostly pretty calm, and we eat a lot. We cook a lot on board, and yeah, we just both really love sailing. So I think that's what's brought us together. So I'm just trying to think what else. For me, when I decided that I would like to do the Osaka again, I believe there's someone else in the room who's done quite a few Osakas here. You're even more mad than we are. Yes.
Everyone in the room.
Yeah. So the co-skipper is the most important part of the Osaka, and probably about a third of the yachts that arrive in Japan, the co-skippers go off in opposite directions and never speak to each other again. So
I say Jimmy once had a Japanese co-skipper who didn't speak English.
Oh.
Like you want to
Yeah, go for it.
A quick little
Yeah.
Very quickly, my first Osaka, I'd sailed to Japan in fully crewed Brisbane to Osaka.
Yeah.
Met some Japanese people, and I ended up I was working with Johnny Spear on the hard stand. Let's set up. We believe you've got some chance in Moreton Bay. I'm taking a boat down to Melbourne with a Japanese guy to do the Melbourne Osaka. So, lucky thing is, I literally just renewed my own charts in Moreton Bay. So you can have my old ones, not a problem. Why are you going to down there? He said, I'm taking the boat with a Japanese guy to do the Melbourne Osaka. Oh, my dream. So short straw, it can't be short.
Make it short. It's a fair thing.
We got next to the guy's boat, and his boat was sponsored by Suntory whiskey. He said, how much you want for the charts? I said, 1 glass of whiskey. Oh. So he's standing in the companionway, he pulled out this bottle of Suntory whiskey, and he hands me a schooner of whiskey. And I'll tell you the rest of it later.
Okay.
Wake up in Osaka.
Yeah.
I might have done that.
So you're going to keep us in suspense.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
But you
no,
don't
we.
have to talk.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. So for me to do the Osaka again, as I said, the first one was just a trial run, and I just really wanted to do it again. So I had thought of Sophie, because from a sail back from Japan, I had someone who, even though I had a 20-year-old on board, she was incredibly reliable. You know, you have to trust your co-skipper with your life, basically. So, and it was just so harmonious, and it was a delight to have her, and to see Sophie when we stopped at the islands on the way back, to see her shared humanity with the local villages and things, and just her beautiful warm spirit shine through. So have I missed anything here? So I'll hand it over to you to a bit more about us.
About us. Yeah, well, I suppose this return trip, from Japan stemmed a lot of where we are now, I suppose. This trip also gave me the confidence to, set off sailing on Nakama as well. So, but I think coming together, yeah, I suppose from that trip, we know we have done it before, and that however many years ago, and how inexperienced I was at that point. So I suppose with all the years of sailing I've now done since, I thought, it's probably, think it was a no-brainer to say
They know. They know.
to say yes to this opportunity. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, about Fika.
All right. So we don't have a racing yacht. We have quite a very heavy 19-ton yacht called Fika. So has anyone not seen her at RQ? Yeah. Okay. So we come and go. So as I was saying, I was in the Donga looking at Yacht Hub, and I wanted to start my business doing sailing adventures. So we really bought Fika with that in mind. We felt she was a good blue water boat. So she's a Naiad 490, a Swedish-built yacht. Yay, the Swedes. She's designed by Judel Rolick. So she's got beautiful lines and certainly a beautiful sailing boat. Fin keels, skeg hung rudder, a cutter rig, as you can see here, which I absolutely love, a cutter rig, so versatile. So, incredibly sea kindly. So, and when she can actually pick up her skirt and go when she wants to despite her 19 tons. So, yeah, this is Fika. For the Osaka, like at the moment, we've put on a wind generator, and we'll talk about that a little more. And we're just in the process of putting some solar on her as well. Okay, I'm going to pass over to Soph.
Well, the overall aim for us getting together like this is the Melbourne to Osaka in a couple of weeks' time. Came up very quickly. But I suppose in order to do the Melbourne to Osaka, we entered into 2 other races for training and also for qualifiers. So we entered into the Sydney Noumea yacht race. Unfortunately, that got postponed until this year.
Yeah.
So with the boat rearing to go and us rearing to go, we decided to do a sail out to Lord Howe Island instead, a 600 nautical mile circuit. Is it
700.
700 nautical miles, sorry. 700 nautical mile circuit out to Lord Howe and back up to Brisbane with a couple of days stop in between, of course. But yeah, sorry. This acted as our qualifier for the Sydney to Hobart. It was a great training for us, really. We had our water pump explode on that trip and lost all of our fresh water. So it was a huge learning for us in trying to troubleshoot when the bilge alarm's blaring at you, where is the water coming from? It made us realise that we definitely don't want any leaks on Fika, trying to get into the bilges and find where the water was coming from. But luckily it was fresh water coming from the tanks. We lost all of our fresh water. So do you want to say anything on that? Or
Yeah.
I suppose what we're trying to say here is that for this one race, we've had to do a qualifier for a qualifier for a qualifier. So for the Sydney Noumea, we did a 150 nautical mile qualifier, and then the trip out to Lord Howe acted as our qualifier for the Sydney to Hobart, and then the Sydney to Hobart acted as our qualifier for the Melbourne to Osaka. But yeah, great training.
Yeah, and very scenic. I can highly recommend Lord Howe.
Lord Howe.
Absolutely stunning. Yeah,
great training.
We were just talking before. Jess was telling us that there's 2 RQ members living out at Lord Howe. So maybe we should do like a cruising rally out there or something. Yeah. Okay, so the Sydney to Hobart. We're going to show you a video. So Sophie did an hour-long video, and she's managed to condense it down into 6 minutes. So if you're happy to watch this, just to get you in the mood, if I know how to start it, hang on. Turn the lights down.
How do I do that? Bottom left?
Oh.
We've just set off on one of the world's toughest and most prestigious yacht races.
Increased last night and the temperature decreased. Welcome to Tasmania.
It's the annual 628 nautical mile ocean race from Sydney to Hobart. These conditions are definitely a bit exhausting. With most boats competing fully crewed, the race aboard Fika will look a little different. Hi Mum, how you doing?
Hi.
Thank you. How are you? It will be just me and my mum, competing double-handed as the first ever mother and daughter team to do so.
So it's definitely gotten windier now.
And what we're about to experience is nothing short of exhilarating.
Seconds to go. Last stop, full speed ahead in the 79 Rolex Sydney Hobart Yacht Race.
Just a minute.
Julie just tacking our way out the harbour. We've got really strong northerlies. It's tacking every few minutes. We're slowly getting there.
In the heads, just probably a few seconds breather, and we need to start thinking about pulling out the heading. You might notice that Fika is not up there in the light racing yacht category. Fika is a Swedish-built yacht called a Yacht. She's 15 metres long and weighs 19 tonnes. She's a beautiful ocean-going vessel, incredibly comfortable, and proves to handle heavy conditions incredibly well, which is exactly what we need for this journey.
Yeah, pretty wild and windy out here tonight. We definitely have a good 30 knots, 30 plus knots behind us.
Tragedy has struck the City Dolomite Yacht Race, with two experienced sailors have been killed in separate incidents.
Two sailors competing in the Sydney Hobart Yacht Race died overnight.
Police say two crew members on separate yachts were struck by sail booms. Neither competitor could be revived.
It was quite distressing hearing the panic in the person's voice who was calling the mayday.
But Mother Nature holds no pity. There's definitely some light about.
That change has covered. We've now got a 30 knot southerly, going from a wild night to a wild day.
It's rapid, but Fika handling the conditions really, really well. It was another night of little sleep. Good morning. We have just begun crossing that strait.
Fika just picked up her skirt and we just glided.
We've just woken up to be first in the double-handed PHS division. Honestly, we're not expecting to ever be on the leaderboard at all.
It's a beautiful day. That's a mainsail with no reefs in it.
We're flying across Bass Strait, and it looks like we'll continue to fly across Bass Strait throughout today, overnight, and most of tomorrow. Until we hit the east coast of Tassie and things might become a little bit more tricky around there. So the wind has certainly shifted. We're not doing too badly anymore. It's starting to build again. Are we sailing again?
Yeah, it's really beautiful now.
Reaching the mountainous coast of Tasmania is a welcome sight. My eyeballs are struggling to open, but it's so beautiful. And we're soon to get a really thorough view of the coast with light wind holes lurking just ahead of us. We've just fallen into such a big hole. We're doing 0.7 knots. What a way to drag out the finishing of this race. This is so insane. I can't believe that we just come to a screeching halt. In the end, these last 40 nautical miles took us over 15 hours.
Welcome to Sydney.
Nice, it's Hobart, and delighted to say that Annette Nisselmans and Sophie Schneider on Fika have finally crossed the line. And those last few hours must have been shocking.
Absolute torture. It was a very painful day.
The winners on the double-handed PHS, and it's another family affair. Annette Hesselman and Sophie Snyder's.
Funny thing about winning, Mum. I think it's yeah, I'm really proud. I'm just amazed to be gobsmacked that we've won.
Yeah, I don't think we're expecting to come away with a win.
Turn the lights back on.
Oh yeah.
How do you do it?
Back on top of.
Have I got this on? Hello? Yes. Okay, so Soph, what was it like starting this iconic Sydney to Hobart race?
Yeah. Yeah, the lead up of the race, we were in Sydney probably for a week or two prior to the race. It was quite chaotic, but I suppose, you know, the day of the race, nerves were high. Obviously we had the weather briefing. There was lots of talk about severe weather, heading into gale force winds, and then getting hit by a cold front the next morning. And oh my gosh, a lot to think that you're just about to throw yourself out there into that. You don't have a choice with racing. I suppose with cruising, you can pick your weather windows. But yeah, so nervous with that, and alongside that, you've got the media chaos is insane. A whirlwind. We had press releases, interviews and interviews. Oh my gosh! By the end of it, the morning of the race, which is where I well and truly just wanted to get out and going. We had a live, interview on TV, and I completely froze on live television. I apologized to the guy, but after he asked me a question. Anyway, so at that point, we were well and truly ready to go. There was, so on the start line, it was more chaos, spectator boats, and then you've got the fleet as well. You're trying to navigate through. But I suppose we were trying to take our start very conservative. It was chaos. We were, not wanting to bingle the boat before we'd even made it out of the heads. So we took it very conservatively. We had that strong northerly, as you just saw, and we were, tacking our way up the harbour, dodging had near misses with competitors, but luckily we made it out safely.
Yep.
And what am I talking about?
We were really lucky that we had the staysail. As you can see in the photo here, we had just over 20 knots of wind, and our head sail is like 140% overlapping head sail. So trying to tack that just with the two of us is quite challenging, trying to get it through that tiny slot, like through here. So we were lucky that we did have stronger winds. So we chose to go with the full main and just the staysail to tack out. So we set our runners up and the main up. And then just, all we had to deal with was the staysail on our way out. I think, is that about it?
Yeah. I mean, I think that was the race. The start of the race was what we were most nervous for, really, because neither of us are, races or around the six races. So that was what we were most nervous for. So it was a relief to get out on the water. It was a relief to see the open water of the ocean as well. So we knew we were heading that first day, we knew we were heading into gale force winds. So how did that afternoon evolve, Mother?
Because we knew that a southerly change was coming up the coast the next day. We really wanted to take that northerly as far south as we could. So we pushed the boat a lot more than we normally would. We didn't set a spinnaker like there was a lot of carnage, of course, within the first couple of hours of the Sydney Hobart. There'd been quite a few dismastings and retired, like I think Alive had retired within the first few hours. So we're conservative sailors, but we weren't going to set a kite. And, Fika's a big, heavy, displacement yacht. It wasn't really going to do us much value anyway. So we pulled out the head sail, and then we also bring out the staysail as well, which actually gives us almost an extra knot of boat speed. So we pushed and up until dusk. And by that stage, we did have 30 knots of wind or so. So then after dinner, we set the boat up for the night and filled in the staysail and reduced sail and kept goose winged. But as the night progressed, the wind progressed, and the further south we went, the wind got stronger and the seas started building. And Fika, like I'm a real stickler for having a preventer, and I know a lot of racing yachts. Yeah, I really do bang on a lot about preventer lines because, well, they're a lifesaver, basically, and they prevent a lot of damage on board as well. So we have a really good preventer system on Fika. But by 11 o'clock that night, so we start our watch systems around 8 p.m. and we usually do 3 hours on and 3 hours off. So in that first around 2,300 hours was the first Mayday call on the radio, and it's quite distressing to hear. And that was Arctos, and the panic in the radio operator's voice as she was reading. Thankfully, I think they had a cheat sheet because she did a superb job of calling that Mayday, but you could hear the panic in her voice and the distress on board. And that was it was one of disbelief to hear that. And then after that, like the winds were, by this stage, we were getting probably gusts of 40 plus knots. So we put the third reef in. So, so the first two reefs, we've just changed it all over and we have single line reefing. So we can do that from the cockpit. But the third reef, we need to go to the mast, and like I was virtually using all of my body weight trying to pull the sail down, but we needed to, turn more into the wind to get it down. And that's, as most of you probably know, you turn into the wind and go, oh my goodness, I didn't realise how strong the conditions were. But following that, we didn't know it was a fatality, but you could certainly, the person was unresponsive and not breathing, and there were yachts that were closer that were trying to get to them and to get a AED across to them. But I think that helped us, well, no, not helped us. Our decision making following that, we opted not to pole out the head sail again. Like we had a handkerchief for head sail by that stage, but we just thought we didn't want to go forward on the deck anymore, so we stayed in the cockpit and used the staysail. But again, as the night progressed, we ended up with, we could hear distant on the VHF a man overboard. And then again, in disbelief at about 3 a.m, they didn't call a Mayday, but there was another call that there was another boat with another unresponsive, not breathing casualty on board. And very sobering, very, very sobering. So that was our first night out, not a lot of sleep. I think it took us, by the time we jibed, because we were virtually heading for New Zealand by this stage, so we needed to jibe over. So we jibed, got the pole down, put in the third reef, and then set the staysail. So poor Soph sort of missed out most of her off watch. So yeah, that was our first afternoon and evening. Yeah. It's so hard to tell, and it was dark. It was there was no moon, so it was really hard to tell. I mean, we had wind and current all together, so that was a positive. I'd say probably 4 meters or so, yeah. So, and Fika, like she's a beautiful sea-kindly boat, but we were starting to go down waves at 15 knots and things, and that's when it was time to just slow us down and, calm it down a little bit. But Sophie was asleep for the second, the man overboard and the second fatality. And so for her, when she woke up in the morning, it sounds like Sophie was asleep for 8 hours. but yeah,
sleep,
So, but yeah, how did you feel, Soph, like when I told you all this stuff?
Yeah, I was honestly shocked, to hear was unbelievable. And yeah, as Mum said, she let me go down after we'd got the boat under control. So I had pretty good sleep that next watch off, sorry. But yeah, waking up to that news was just total disbelief. I couldn't believe 2 people had, at that point, we're assuming that they've lost their lives. Very shocking news to wake to. I suppose, I really felt for the crews. I just couldn't even comprehend what it would be like for those people aboard those boats, and having that happen to a crew member. That would just be absolutely horrible to have that happen. But yeah, I suppose that morning, there was, as you saw, so much lightning around ahead of that cold front, and it just really felt like Mother Nature just does not care, does not stop for you. And I suppose it made, it's a huge realization or reminder that, how vulnerable we are out there, and I suppose as human beings. So yeah, it was very sobering. But I suppose these emotions, didn't really leave our minds throughout the whole day, but we didn't have much time to process what had just happened, because our next challenge was awaiting us, and that was the cold front hitting within the next few hours. And we had to get ready for that.
Oops, I've got to.
So yeah, this next challenge was the cold front hitting that next morning. So how did you find that second day?
I feel like we've been presented with like this obstacle course of doing the Sydney to Hobart, and like day 1, right, you're going to get a 30 plus knot northerly, and day 2, we're now going to throw a southerly at you, equally as strong, and so you're going to not head in the right direction, and you're going to get wet and cold and miserable. And so this was day 2. So it was, we can't lay our course. We're either heading to New Zealand or we're heading to Canberra. So there wasn't any compromise in between. So we really reefed down. But this is the beginning of the day, sort of it's sunny, but unfortunately it did get grey. And Fika, being with her weight, she often tends to plough through the seas rather than up and over them. So she can be quite a wet boat. It was also a day where, because our reefing system was fairly untested, I'd got the boat from Brisbane to Sydney doing some mile builders and things, but we were having trouble with a lot of chafe with the reefing lines. So it meant we had to really be quite precise with how we set the reefer up and monitor that every couple of hours. So we'd have to go forward to the mast and just make sure that it wasn't rubbing on the sheave and the casting of the gooseneck. So, and the other thing was we've just put a wind generator on the boat just prior to leaving Brisbane in November. And I have no idea, I'm not that technological, but the Bluetooth on it had been not set up correctly, but we didn't realise that. So we're sailing in the Hobart and we're hoping that, we've got 30 knots of wind, the damn thing should be spinning. But anyway, it had an identity crisis and it decided that it didn't want to be a wind generator. And so we ended up needing to start the engine overnight because, I was watching our batteries going down thinking, oh, this thing's going to kick in. As soon as, we get to a certain voltage, our wind generator is going to kick in. But it wasn't going to have a bar of that. So we went to go and start the engine, at midnight or something, and we had a dry exhaust, which occasionally happens on Fika. And I usually turn off the seacock, but I turned off the seacock too far for the water intake, and so it had actually opened the ball up again a little. So we then spent the next 2 hours in these, headwinds trying to get the engine going again. So it was a day of trials and tribulations, but we managed to make a yummy, omelette and keep ourselves fed and watered and caught up on rest and tacked. And we knew that as the further south we got, the more west the wind was going to get. So we just kept trying to get our way down, trying to keep heading south. So knowing that it was short-lived. So like Bass Strait, who's crossed Bass Strait here? Yeah. So yeah, its reputation. What does everyone? If I say the word Bass Strait, what does everyone see? Brutal. Yeah. Any other? Yeah. Vomit. Okay. Yeah, it has a pretty bad reputation, Bass Strait. So yeah. So yeah, did it live up to its reputation?
Bass Strait was a huge relief for us. We felt like the hardest part of the race was behind us. The front had passed, blue skies, sunshine, and settled seas welcomed us into Bass Strait. And oh my gosh, it was a glorious day. We had caught up on some sleep. We were feeling so much better. As Mum said, we had not just one sleepless night, but the second night was also a sleepless night. So we were well and truly exhausted by that point. So the third day was really important on catching up on sleep for us. And that's when we made the omelette.
Oh, okay.
We were feeling so good we made an omelette. And we also worked to being first in our division. So that was a huge morale booster as well. And yeah, as Mum said, the wind had swung more west. We were making our course, which is instant satisfaction. And yeah, it was a glorious day. So yeah, Bass Strait was very kind to us that day, but it did progress overnight back to 30 knots.
Across Bank Strait.
Across Bank Strait, it kind of funnels through there. So we got a bit of, but Fika was hooning, very wet, but we were making good progress towards Tasmania. We knew things would get tricky for us along the Tasmanian coast, and I don't think anything could have prepared us for how frustrating the last 40 nautical miles was. So, Mother, how many sail changes? And everyone, you can guess, how many sail changes did we do in that last 40 nautical miles?
Yeah.
What was behind you again?
What wind? That was 200 meters we moved, and then it went again. So yeah, we do. So it's more baked beans. Yeah. So we worked out that we did probably 6. It doesn't sound very much, but like Fika's quite a big boat. She's a triple spreader, a 21-meter mast. So we went from code 0. We tried everything with the code 0. We goose winged with it. We, went close hauled with it. We did everything we possibly could with the code 0. We put up the symmetrical spinnaker. We had to jibe that a few times, and we actually have twin spinnaker poles. So at one point we decided we just left both of them out. So we were jibing from one side to the next. What was quite funny on this day was that Sophie's partner Simon was on a friend's catamaran, a lagoon, and they'd been anchored off Bruny Island in one of Adventure Bay, waiting for us. And they were waiting and waiting and waiting and waiting. And then they decided when they came out, we got hit by a southerly wind. And they couldn't keep up with us then. So we'd been doing, we were at, our average speed was 2.5 knots, not even 2.5 knots for this last 40 miles. And then what was so funny was behind us was this lagoon that was almost planing. You could hear the roar of their 2 engines trying to catch up to us, because Fika, we got this gust of wind and we just took off. So, and then it got too strong and we had this, 1/2-ounce huge symmetrical spinnaker up that we were then having to wrestle. We've got a sock, so we got it down and got the head sail out. And then no sooner had we done that the wind died again. So then I think we put the symmetrical back up, and then we took it back down, and then we put the code 0 back up. And Fika's not a racing yacht, so we can't keep nothing set up that well for racing. So we have to drop, we can't just leave the code 0 there on its torsion rope, and we don't have a prodder or anything, so it has to come down. And then we had 3 nautical miles left to go. It's dusk, and we had to give each other a pep talk because we actually thought we were going to be out for one more night. So we had a shower. There was a bit of footage there. I'd had a shower and my hair was drying in the, the breeze, and we'd got the lippy on and we were ready. We'd put the champagne in the fridge and everything. Yes. So, and by 9 o'clock, we're thinking we're going to be out here for the whole night. Like, we've got 3 nautical miles to go, but it's really not looking good. And then we got hit by a huge gust with code 0 up, and they don't like more, 15 knots or less. And so then we're trying to fill in this huge code 0, and we had to then tack our way to the finish line. So, but what I will say is the generosity of, like, you heard the man, like some stranger wanted to hug us as we came through, and he did. He came up and gave us a hug when we got in. So it was just beautiful to come to the dock. And yes, Dean and Rebecca were there, and Dean, had done some electrical work on Fika prior to us leaving Brisbane. So it's just really lovely, lovely, lovely. So, this is our wrap up. What have we got to say? For just the Sydney to Hobart, don't think it's over just yet. So we'll just, look, it was an incredible, Sophie and I just sail so beautifully together, and we almost don't need to talk to each other. Like, we can preempt what needs doing, and either Sophie or I will be there. It's just, as Sophie says, sometimes if you have crew on board and if they're a bit moody or you're not quite sure, they don't have to be moody, but sometimes you second guess yourself that perhaps you've offended or done something wrong. And we don't need to do that. I suppose we know each other so well. So it was a fantastic race. There was no tension. I feel we sailed the race really well, and really proud of our achievement for that.
I mean, you've said it all. I think it felt incredibly harmonious, I suppose, with what it's like sailing as mother and daughter. I suppose the only difference is, as Mum said, that you know each other really, really well, and you can read each other like a book, and that helps a lot. So but it was we did feel very proud of ourselves for what we achieved, and I suppose that was a huge confidence boost for us now going ahead into the Osaka as well.
Does anyone have any question? Or Mikey was going to just do a little intermission thing, and then we're going to move on to the Melbourne Osaka.
Mentioned that I think everybody here would love to hear. Fika did the West Coast Tasmania, and one of the crews here, Emma.
Yay!
Emma was sending me videos and photos from Tasmania we were putting up here on the RQIS Facebook page. So that was a preliminary
that
run
was
in Tasmania, but the really other bad side, wasn't it? So what was the weather?
The West
like there?
Coast.
That's the real best race.
The West Coast of, well, the West Coast of, has anyone sailed down the West Coast of Tassie? Get a few hands up. I mean, it's absolutely spectacular. And if anyone wants to do some cruising, head south, head down to Tasmania. It's just absolutely divine. So we did the 2022 Melbourne to Hobart, which it was the 50th anniversary. And that's a race that it's the poor cousin of the Sydney to Hobart, but equally as challenging. The West Coast, it's there's not a lot between the West Coast of Tassie and the whole Southern Ocean and South Africa, the Cape of Good Hope. So the seas can get quite large, a beautiful rolling swell there. So we did that with a full crew in 2022 to celebrate. And Emily was one of our crew on board. So we got a cold front hit us there too, and then we had no wind, but we didn't have that amazing code 0 on board that time, so we didn't do quite so well in that race. So
Has anybody got any other questions?
I noticed you weren't wearing gloves.
So you got really strong, but not much load.
No, well, Fika's huge. She's a huge, powerful boat, but I've got tradie hands because I sail all the time.
And not even boots all the time.
No, well, it got cold and I did put my boots on and they were like ice skates. So the tread on them. So no, I'm a salty old sea dog and I tend to, and it's not good practice. And anyone who's done a course with me, I normally say you should wear shoes, but yeah, you only do that once. Yep. Does anyone ask? Yep, Bill?
During the magnificent doggo that 1 hour. Really. At one point, Eddie was seen to be reading a book.
Oh, Bill!
Been a book that you've written rather than. What tips did you take from that?
I was just double checking I'd done. I will confess I'm not the greatest trimmer of mainsails, and sometimes I find them hard to read a little, and so I was just double checking that I'd done everything I possibly could for the mainsail trim on that particular day. And Sophie filmed me and I felt very embarrassed that I was looking at, it was like, how to sail for dummies or something. Yeah. Thank you, Bill. Any other questions? Yeah.
I've got a couple. One, the fairly simple one. How do you, without a poll, how do you set up the code 0? And second one's about man overboard. Just first one, please.
With the code 0 is more of like a light wind reaching sail. So you don't need a pole for that. And it's usually on a torsion rope and in-out furler. So we basically hoist it on a spinnaker halyard. We should have a prodder, but we don't have a prodder. So we just try and get the luff tension as tight as we possibly can. And then it's pretty much a reaching sail. But because we just had such fickle winds, we were doing everything we possibly could, trying to just capture whatever puff of wind there was.
Yeah, a couple of times in the video.
Yeah.
And the other one is about man overboard. I've done a bit of sailing, and I, as skipper, always going through my mind. It's always, what do I do when? What do I do if? But I've always had other problems. So with 2 people, what's your mental process for preparing man over?
Not to go over in the first place. Yeah. Yeah, definitely prevention's better than, the other outcome. So yeah, definitely the tethering on. And I mean, sometimes if you're going to get tripped over the side, it's usually because of your tether line. They can be incredibly frustrating when you're tangled up in, shrouds and sheets and everything. So I suppose we try to have as shorter tether as possible for up on the foredeck. Oh, yeah, good question. How do you want to know how we do it?
Well, specifically, did you practice, and how long does it take you to get back?
And
with one person,
yeah,
helming and reefing and doing
yeah. So I suppose the way I always teach it is that we have the main still, so just try and get rid of the head sail and then have the main sail and start the engine and sort of hove to and reach away, come back on a close reach. So when we've practiced it sort of, 5 to 10 minutes it would take to get back. But in those conditions and that man overboard that happened, like I did hear on the VHF that I think that the actual yacht, the ETA or the Marine Rescue was talking to them. It was like a 35-minute ETA back to that crew member. And you just think, how are they going to? But that was the AIS. Yeah. So without that AIS, there probably would have been a different outcome. Absolutely. Double-handed sailors, like racing, we have to have AIS and a personal locator beacon on ourselves. Yeah. Yeah.
Just a little comment. I thought the way you kept it on the video, probably best way, something done it was brilliant. Well, not best way, the highest stuff, when you had the waves, it was really hard sometimes on a video to capture it. I thought you captured it correctly.
Oh, thank you.
That's so all credit to Sophie. Yeah. Yeah. Do you know what? I will say that I was a bit, I'll be perfectly honest, I was never a great rap for the Sydney to Hobart because it just gets so much media, like there's so much focus on the huge 100-foot yachts and all the, I don't know, it didn't, never, I like more down to earth sort of, yeah, like the West Coaster. But I will say that I'm sold on the Sydney to Hobart. I mean, I would definitely do a Melbourne to Hobart again, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. I suppose the professionalism of the CYC and yeah, I definitely would do it again. So yeah, and look, we haven't really talked much about double-handed racing. We're both hooked on double-handed as well. So just and we can certainly talk a little more about that.
Did you use your auto helm much, and was it reliable in heavy winds?
Yes, it is. Yeah. So as a double-handed sailors, you're allowed to use your auto helm too. So we hand steered a lot on the first day, like because we were just trying to push south and we were running. So we hand steered sort of until nightfall. So we took it turns, but yeah, we do use it a lot. So I'll go on, Christine.
Does Jerry get jealous?
I know Jerry, my husband, doesn't get jealous at all. No, he's quite happy to be staying at home now. Yeah. I've got a very little. You've got a question. The best part. I'm going to pass it over to Sophie. What was the best part, Sophie?
Yeah. It's a hard one. Yeah, well, I mean, the sense of achievement is what all like makes you addicted to it, I suppose. When you finish and cross that line, that sense of accomplishment is huge. But I suppose, you know, we have some beautiful days sailing. The colours of the ocean, and you know what, I was sitting at sunset. Mum had just gone to sleep, and we had just sort of come in along the Tasmanian coast, and we were heading past Wineglass Bay, which is, you know, a huge and mountainous area. And just that sunset that evening was so spectacular. We had dolphins come and greet us, and yeah, that was just so special. Moments like that make all the hard moments worth it. So it's beautiful.
Yeah. So regarding the video, did you go in with a plan, or did you just shoot and piece it together later?
Yeah,
because I mean it's come across for over an hour. It's really well structured and good storytelling. So just wondering. I mean, I know what we do. We just shoot.
Yeah, I think so. I think we did. I think I did just the same thing. I always try and think about a plan of attack, but then end up just filming everything and then trying to make something of it. But yeah, I mean, I purposely, I suppose for that video, I really wanted to, you know, interview Mum afterwards, after we had done that. So if I could use some of her words as, I suppose, voiceovers, or cut to Mum. Yeah, that was sort of the only thing that I sort of planned, is some of those interviews, but otherwise pretty much just shot everything exciting and tried to make something of it.
And did the shooting get in the way of the race?
Move on.
We've got to move on.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, not to the same degree though, but we'll quickly. Yep.
Okay. Oh, that's cute. What was it? What did you ask for? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah, next race. Do you want to? Oh, you've got to. Oh,
okay. Is there anyone in the room who's contemplating doing the Melbourne to Osaka? Has anyone, apart from you? No, you're not allowed to anymore. Yeah. No one's silly enough. Any other big ocean races or ocean sailing crossings? fly. Someone's going to fly. Okay, well, just a little bit about the Melbourne to Osaka race. So we're actually going to start this race on the 16th of March, which is the main race start. So basically it's a longitudinal race. Then it's the 5,500 nautical miles in a straight line. It's a double-handed non-stop race. The first race was in 1987, so it normally goes every 4 years, but this has been a 7-year gap this time because they wanted to align it with the World Expo that's happening in Osaka. So look, what I encourage for anyone that is wanting to do some ocean racing or sailing in the future is that this is a fantastic race for everybody. It's accessible for everyone. It's had all ages, all genders, and all types of boats in it, which is fantastic. So this year there's an S&S 34 is the smallest boat, and the largest boat is a Live, which is a Royal Queensland yacht as well, I think. Yeah. So and the oldest person, like in 2018, there was an 80-year-old who did it, and I think this year the maybe late 60s, early 70s is sort of the oldest, and the youngest is 20. You must be getting close to one of the younger ones. I think they might be 25, 26. Sophie's 27 now. So it is a fantastic race.
It is totally life-changing.
It is totally life-changing race. I will agree with that. So, Jess, our events coordinator manager, asked, why? Why would someone want to do this race? So we've got a few thoughts. You want to talk?
You go first.
Okay. Well, just as we were saying before, we absolutely love the ocean. So we have a passion for the ocean, and just the colours and the beauty of the sea is probably what brings us out there all the time. We're both cruisers, but we both have fallen in love with offshore racing. And we particularly like the double-handed sailing. So I think it really challenges yourself, and you learn so much about yourself. I suppose you've got not many people bossing you about and telling you what to do. You have to be a jack of all trades when you're just double-handed sailing as well. So I think you're really in control of your own opportunities and things when you're a double-handed sailor. I'm going to pass over to you, so.
Yeah, the personal challenge is a huge reason why I think we want to do it. Yeah, to achieve something like that, I suppose. If most of you are sailors in here, I suppose you probably will resonate with how amazing it feels. Even if it's just like sailing from, it might be your first sail from the marina to Moreton Island. That's such a huge step. And you drop the anchor and you just feel, wow, I've just done that. I suppose it's the same feeling, but on a much larger scale. And I suppose you start to chase bigger things and to push yourself further and to achieve, something really cool. So I suppose that personal challenge and to test yourself. And I suppose, I know Mum said it was a life-changing race, and I'm sure it will be.
Yeah. And for you, Sophie, it is about filming too.
Yeah, there's another huge reason why is, when Mum presented me with this opportunity, I was like, oh my gosh, that would just be incredible content. And I suppose with what I do is that to make engaging content, you have to push yourself into, crazy scenarios and situations. This was just such a huge opportunity. I can't wait to film it all. There's a bit of a plan. I will do a short or a YouTube series on it, and I'm also wanting to do like a feature-length film as well for documentary style to submit to film festivals as well. So
Will you be shooting stuff like I have in the Volvo and the Globe race stuff being uploaded so we can watch you on the way, or not?
Probably not to public. I suppose as part of we've got these people called patrons, and I suppose as a benefit, we were wanting to sort of do those sort of live updates to them. So I don't think I'll be releasing those to the public, but yeah, it will be edited and uploaded for everyone to watch for free after the race. And if you want that, Patreon for us.
How would you compare the two?
The west coast of Australia and the return trip from Japan. Honestly, similar conditions, you know, trying conditions coming down Western Australia with beating into southerlies, and it was our return trip. We did a lot of beating as well. So similar conditions. Obviously, the return trip from Osaka was much longer. It was much longer, and you know, a lot more time spent on the boat. You know, at least on the west coast, you could do 200 nautical mile jumps and then pull into an anchorage and rest and recover for a week before you did the next slog. Whereas on the Osaka, it was non-stop.
Oh, we did stop.
We stopped a few times, but majority of the time we were on the go. I suppose completely, in some ways very similar, but also it's completely different. But it's hard to compare the two.
One of the other questions we've been asked is like the pathway for people. I'm not sure if there's anyone interested in the room, and not for the Osaka, but just to get into sailing or to, you know, to grow in this sport. So I suppose we're just reflecting on that with the Osaka, and I suppose the biggest thing is just getting out on the water and gaining that experience and going with people in a boat that you trust and feel comfortable and supported with. I really do encourage yacht ownership. So if anyone's contemplating, and you don't, as Soph says, you don't need to buy the brand new, you know, Hansi 50 from Germany. You know, you can get a smaller boat. So you know, we can start from $10,000 to $10 million for a yacht. So it is open for everybody. And Soph was saying to me yesterday, you know, she's so glad that she's gotten a Karma, because you learn, and as you learn, you know, we all make mistakes, and we continue to make mistakes throughout our whole sailing life. But at least what were your words, like almost crash and burn?
A crash dummy boat, yeah.
A crash dummy boat. So it's good to have a crash dummy boat. So I think but yacht ownership's really good, and it's an all-encompassing part. So, you know, if you're just crewing on someone else's boat, you're only learning one aspect. Often you're doing the same role every weekend. Whereas if you have your own yacht, you really need to learn every aspect of it, and I think that's a really empowering thing. So the other thing, I think I probably just mentioned, the yacht, I won't go any more detail there. Time, so I'll pass that to you.
I suppose by what we mean by time is
for this race.
For trying to do a race like this, is that I suppose we're incredibly lucky that we work for ourselves and that we are flexible, that we don't need to, you know, ask our boss for time off. We are our boss. Does that make sense? So yeah, that it's a huge time commitment, and we're both having to take a big chunk of time off work, which, yeah, I guess that's a bit of a sacrifice. So yeah, I suppose that's something to also consider if you want to do something as crazy as this, is to, you know, it is a huge chunk of your time, and yeah. Is there anything else you want to add there?
Yeah.
You've been there, you know it. Is she prepared for the party at the other end?
Sophie was the party at the other end. Yeah, when we got there, because the rum is free, but you have to pay for the Coke. So
who pays for Coke?
So yes, Sophie knows all about the party at the end. Look, I think I've probably spoken. The pathway for this sort of race is a co-skipper, and as I've emphasised, that's the most important part of this race. You can teach someone to sail, but you can't if someone doesn't have the right attitude or for whatever reason. And as I mentioned, a third of yachts have issues with co-skippering. So for me, to choose a co-skipper, you want someone who's reliable and shares that same determination as what you do. So, if our auto helm goes, I'm not going to pull out of the race. We're going to hand steer. It's going to take a lot for us to pull out of that race. And I sincerely hope that nothing happens that we will have to do that. So yeah, you want someone who's reliable and trustworthy, and it's such an important that the co-skipper role is very, very vital. I'm going to, because I know that we're running short of time. Boat preparations, look, this is probably quite self-explanatory, like getting her it's a category 1+ race, the Melbourne to Osaka, and the plus is having watertight bulkheads. We've got a first aid kit. We can pretty well do open heart surgery on board Fika now with staple guns and suture kits and lots of drugs and green whistles and all sorts of things. There's a lot to for the boat, and we're still trying, she's an absolute mess at the moment, and we've got 2 weeks to now try and put her together ready for action. Of course, provisioning spares, the list goes on. Training wise, we've, of course, as most of you know, you've got to do your first aid and your safety and sea survival and all those mandatory items that are required. We've had to do all the qualifiers that we've talked about. So mental preparation, I don't know, it's tricky. I think the race to Hobart, the Sydney to Hobart, really did put us in good stead. We're going to be going through the doldrums, and it can be tough. And what I've found with my sailing, if you're not heading in the right direction or not moving at all, it can be incredibly frustrating and quite, just zaps your morale. So I think I suppose sailing has taught us a lot of self-discipline and just to be patient. It certainly is a game of patience sometimes, sailing. So, Sophie, have you got anything else to add?
Oh, I don't think so. I think, the personal, I suppose just having the gear yourself as well. Preparation and, getting your life jacket serviced or a good life jacket and, getting good sailing gear and all of
And we decided any physical preparation, we've not done anything.
Physical preparation, Mum and I are bulking at the moment.
Yeah. And
exclude all the safety stuff because it has to have it.
Two personal items.
Probably a book.
Obviously a brush.
A brush.
Music. Is that that's probably where the tension's going to happen, is like Justin Bieber versus, I don't know. Or no, who is it that you like?
Ariana Grande.
So anyway, physical preparation. We're just going to spend the first 3 days wheezing until we're and then I find it takes about 3 days to develop some physical strength again and stop wheezing. So fears, so quickly go.
Biggest fear is, I suppose, after the Sydney to Hobart and what happened on those boats is having a serious injury and one of us being completely incapacitated, that's the word. That's my biggest fear.
I'm really scared of getting something around the rudder. When we sailed back from Japan, we passed within about 2 meters of ghost net, and I just had visions of what that would be like wrapped around the keel and the rudder. And I don't really I like being on top of the water. So the thought of having to dive and try to free that is one of my fears. We both realised we're not too concerned about the weather. Though cyclones, but we get so much warning now I hope that we will be able to manage Fika in heavy conditions and heave to if we need to heave to. We'll be sensible. I think we're going to wrap it up there. Oh, yeah, Jess?
Online.
Yeah, of course.
Karen has just asked, you said you sail on a straight line north. Can you tell us about where you sail and the winds or the currents on the way?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go back. Can Karen see just, I've got that map.
And do you have a lot of options chasing weather? Because you're not that fast, you just got to pretty much run line it.
Yeah, look, I will say the last trip, because it's just so frantic trying to get to the start line, like the preparation, I have to admit, last time we didn't do a lot of routing beforehand, and 2 weeks before, we haven't really done a good job this time either. I've just put the map here of you know, the sort of run line to Osaka. To start with, we want to avoid those Southeast Australian currents. So last time we went well offshore, and that does like it spins anti-clockwise off the border to New South Wales and Victoria. So we went well offshore, and we were probably 200 miles off the Australian coast on our way north. So there's a few options as you go further north, which side you can go up through the Solomon Sea, or you can actually go to the east and pass through. There's another passage there, or you can go through, there's another passage through New Guinea. So I think it's New Ireland. Where are we? Yeah, so I think you can come through this way or through one of these here. Most people just go up through the Solomon Sea. Yeah.
You go past Ray, you have a great run up inside your island, and when you get to the, I can't remember the name of the passage, you spit out, you're ahead of everyone else, and suddenly you find that you're watching them all come from as far over there as they can be to as far over there as they can be, and you're still here. You come into this absolute nothingness. You screamed up through past inside New Guinea and come out and go, whose idea was this thing?
Yeah. It is a very strategic race, and there's also a lot of current around the equator that's, you know, pushing you west, and then I keep calling it the Tamagotchi current up near Japan. It's not called that. I can't remember. Yeah. Anyway, it starts with H. Yeah, that one. Yeah. So there's some pretty nasty currents. So it is a very strategic race, and we do need to tap into those currents to get Fika through the light conditions. I think we're going to finish there.
What's your strategy there? Like freeze dry, fish, bring prepared, whatever, or the omelette and the potato salad?
Yeah. Yeah, look, we're not really, look, Fika's 19 tonnes, so there's no point taking freeze-dried food with us. On the last race, we had no fridge or freezer. We were very, very basic, and we just took lots of root vegetables and legumes, and we made our own yogurts and grew mung beans. And so look, what I think the last time I sort of planned a bit of a menu, like for 7 days, and then multiplied that by, you know, 5, and sort of tried to cater for 40 days last time. I think Sophie actually wins the trump for doing the Kimberleys, you know, for over 2 to 3 months. You didn't shop, did you, in that time? So I think we're just going to really just a lot of the root vegetables last, and egg. We love eggs. Yeah, we're just going to, what we would normally eat and like, and then multiply that by the number of days. And yeah, yeah. Well, we were talking about having a chook on the boat the other day. Yeah. Yes. So, Jess, have we got time for a few more questions? Yeah.
That back from Osaka was a really great way to build a sustainable car. I was wondering if you could talk about any of your experiences the first few times you took your own boat out and how you built the confidence.
Yeah, I mean, I think
I had that behind me, but it was still a huge learning curve, obviously. You know, being responsible for your own vessel is completely different to crewing. So yeah, I mean, the first sail, I wish I had a photo, but the first sail Simon and I did was through, well, we had the boat in Brunswick Heads, which is, you know, just south of here. And the bar there is not very good at all, not dredged or anything, very shallow. Anyway, basically, our Simon's baptism by fire, we went out through breaking waves. I thought that was the end of Nakama. I thought she was, onto the rocks there, but we made it through those breaking waves, and then we were out in, I think I, underestimated 25 knots of wind at that point, and we had a pretty wild journey up to the Gold Coast, but gosh, I can't remember what your question is, but yeah, it was a huge learning curve as well. And I suppose over the years, again, I've been slowly developing my confidence in skippering Nakama. So yeah, I don't know if that answered your question. Yeah.
Can I just ask you, so going down the west coast of Australia, I've been following it, and there was one you were talking about the inaccuracies in avionics cards, where you really ran aground at one stage. Did you use paper charts as well as navionics, or
no? Mum's mum likes to, my mum was
probably
strangles me over the topic, but no, we're on Nakama, we just have electronic charts. We've got 2 chart plotters, and we also obviously have navionics on our phone, but I don't even think those areas would show detail on paper charts. They're completely unsurveyed areas that we're going through up in the Kimberley, which is where we, basically, well, we did run onto a reef, but luckily with the tides there was enough water. So I don't know if a paper chart would have made a difference up in the Kimberley. There's actually, we use lots of mud maps up there from, other sailors drawing up these mud maps of where you can go. So they were super useful as well. So that might come close to a paper chart, maybe.
and so from the RYA trainer, you're going down the west coast. Would you be up with the paper charts?
Yeah, look, I do love paper charts. I think particularly for for planning, and you can see it all there in front of you, and so for working out distances and everything. I do love a paper chart. For this race, it's incredible, just the 7 years between races, and now we've got to have the electronic navigation charts, the official charts, and it's just not the same looking at it on a laptop. But anyway, I've still got the last race charts that I'll take with me, and then we've got the electronic charts plus the Rain Marine. Yeah.
So do you have that chart?
No, not for this race now. But we've got the official, the hydrographic office ENC charts. Sorry,
Sorry, they
ENC, so electronic navigation charts. Yeah, Christina. Oh,
Huge in itself, but
yeah, it is big, and so I suppose one of the things, in the previous race, I originally was doing that race with my brother, and we bought Red Jacket together, and so she was a cheaper boat, but it cost so much more to get her ready for the race. And I would say, probably up to $200,000, by the time you add up all the little bits and pieces, well, not little, we ended up having to replace her mast, which was unexpected. For Fika, we started with really good bones, but still, replacing Fika's standing rigging, nothing's cheap. Anything to do with boats is not cheap. Thankfully, the sail exchange, we bought the Code Zero is a second-hand Code Zero, so we've tried to sort of get second-hand things or repurpose what we have and things. And we can't afford a carbon sail or any. So I have replaced the head sail, but it's with another Dacron. I I would think probably, it's probably again by the time we're set off, and insurance is another really big thing. I'd say we'd be looking at another $60,000 to get Fika ready. So luckily Paper Sailors Rock has done. Thank you, everyone. It's been, but we've hotted up Fika for the sail training when we get back. But what I will say for those, it is ridiculously expensive. I don't know if, secondhand things or sponsorship, if you can, but we haven't gone down that pathway. Yeah. A chicken. Oh, Chrissy, I think we're fine. Look, we're not gun elite sailors, and we're not doing this to win. Yeah, it's more of a personal chat, that endurance and to push ourselves out of our comfort zones and to learn from that, and that camaraderie and things. So yeah, no, we're fine. We're good. As long as we've got eggs on board, we'll be fine. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Just getting to the finish line. We are. We will be. And yeah. So I'm feeling like, because it's after 9 o'clock, so we've probably talked long enough. So
Just like to thank on behalf of RQ. Jess has gone to a lot of trouble to get these 2 bottles of grain to me. So thank you very much both.
Oh,
thank you.
Thank you.
Entertaining and informative evening.
Thank you so much, everyone. Beautiful. Thank you, Jess. It's quite a relief, actually. Oh, thank you, Jess.
And next month,